Thank you, Nate. Coach, we're lucky. You coached two of the guys the Pacers drafted.
Yep.
Can you tell us just what those guys will bring, what we're going to learn about them as players and as people here in the next couple of years?
Well, yeah. Well, first off, they're both great guys, and I'll start with Ben in particular. You know, I got down here last year, and and I had a few meetings with Ben, on what his decision was going to be, whether he was going to put his name in the draft and things of that nature, and and I got the sense when I talked to him, he didn't want to do that. He was hungry to come back and improve his position in the draft. And he and I just sat down and kind of mapped out a plan and on how he could do that. And I'll give him credit. He's a super diligent guy. This is a guy that he doesn't come with many extras. He's kind of keeps to himself and doesn't have a big group of people he runs with. And he really has immersed himself in the process of becoming a great basketball player. And he's a guy that we never had to set up extra workout times for or anything like that. He's a self-starter and extremely motivated. And I think his best days are ahead of him. I really still look at Ben as a young basketball player. Obviously he had a tremendous season and made a huge jump and was vital to our success. But I just think, when I first saw Ben, it probably would have been about 4 years ago now at the NBA Academy of Mexico City. I was down there recruiting one of his teammates who's on our team now, Umar Ballo. And at the time, I would have described him as athletic, but physically undeveloped, undersized, unskilled four-man. And, and somehow between, then and when I got here, he kind of had picked up a knack for shooting, and you could see that he had a really good wrist and an ability to make jump shots. And then this year we really challenged him to grow in other areas of the game, his ball handling, decision making, IQ. And so I think he's just starting that, that part of his development, which is exciting. This is a guy that has tons of room to grow. And, I think that he'll be able to reach that ceiling just based on his character. And Andrew, I'll speak on him real quick. Andrew's he's a kid I recruited in high school, and he turned us down. And then, when he decided to transfer, we were lucky enough to get him the second time around at Gonzaga. And this is a special guy. I think people forget, because of COVID and everything that happened with transfers and eligibility, Andrew transferred to Gonzaga with the intent of redshirting. That was 100% the deal. And then all these COVID waivers started happening. And, here we were with a really good player who could be instantly eligible. But just to let you know about Andrew, how good of a teammate he is, he was a little apprehensive at first because it kind of broke from the plan. And he wanted to make sure if he was going to play that all his teammates were okay with that. And, that he wasn't stepping on anybody's toes. So, this guy is a mature game. He's a guy that I think that people are going to be really impressed with. He has an ability to play with really good players and make the game easier for them. And he just kind of has that strength to kind of allow everybody to be put in positions to do what they do best. So, I'm glad he's getting the recognition he deserves. And, I knew, from the day I saw him in high school that this guy was a legitimate NBA player, and now he gets the opportunity to go out and do it.
We'll go James Boyd next.
Hi, Tommy. James Boyd, Indy Star. They told us last night that Chad Buchanan, that is the Pacers GM, he said that Benedict worked out twice for them. The first one was like the formal workout. The second one, he came back just voluntarily to do a workout with Rick Carlisle. He said that was the first time he ever had that happen, where a prospect worked out twice in one day, especially a prospect that high. So what does that say about his character? And maybe do you have any stories about having to kick him out of the gym, maybe just to get some rest?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt. I mentioned that in my opening statement. It's a guy that loves to work and he's driven. And, I don't think Ben's a guy, at least from my experience, that was trying to load manage or do any of that stuff. He's not trying to protect anything. mean, Ben's going for stuff, which I think is super important. I mean, he's in attack mode, and I think you guys got a hungry guy. He's a guy that I'm pretty confident, once he gets there, he's not going to feel like he's arrived. I think he's going to feel like he has to continue to prove to himself and to others that he belongs at that level. And I think that's the kind of hunger and desire you need. And I think Ben has that in spades.
Go to Scott Agnes next.
Hey, Tommy, I know Domas is a big fan of yours. Thanks for doing this.
He better be.
Absolutely. Nate, thanks for doing this. In terms of getting ready for this draft, the conversations you had with Ben and then about what he needs to do next and to improve his game even more, what were those conversations about, and what do you foresee being his next part of his game?
Well, I'll just put it like this, like how I approach it with guys like Ben. I always tell him, like, listen, I can't tell you everything you need to do to be a ready-made NBA player, but what I can tell you to do is how to be great at Arizona. And if you're great at Arizona, I mean, then you're going to get an opportunity to go into the NBA, hopefully as, a high draft pick. And so, I think that's going to be up for Ben and his coach to decide. I think he's going to be an interesting guy. I mean, I think this is a guy that, he really had emphasized and wanted to develop his ability to drive the basketball and handle the basketball this year and make decisions. So, we really focused on that area. I mean, I know there were times where I was, on Ben to hunt more catch and shoot shots. I think, it's going to be really interesting to see his development. Does he become more comfortable handling the ball and, being a, multiple dribble, multiple direction guy? Or is this guy, gonna kind of slide into more of a catch and shoot, drive closeout type guy? And I think both of them are great. I think to me, that's what excites me about him. This isn't a guy that necessarily is going to need to dominate the ball to be a great NBA player. But I saw enough growth in that area this year that if he continues to work on that stuff, he could become that type of player. I think he, certainly at the offensive end has some ready-made things that will allow him, if he locks into what coach wants and, learns the system, I think he'll be able to contribute, earlier rather than later.
All right, Indianapolis media, any other questions for Coach? You're welcome to stay on. Just want to kind of give you a chance here if you need to get out.
I got one more, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
In regards to Ben, what is it like seeing him compete against Dalen? Because Dalen came in for a workout with the Pacers as well. And Dalen's like super outspoken, he told us he has irrational confidence. I think they kind of fit that same mold. So what was it like to see them go head to head in practice? And did you ever have to like pull them apart? Because it seems like they were just two pit bulls.
Yeah, I mean, I would say early I had to pull them apart a little bit, and I had to kind of pull them aside and just told them that all that macho stuff is fake. Lock in on getting better, and you guys need to, compete with each other, not compete against each other. And it's about getting reps and growing and learning. But I, Dalen definitely has some juice and brings it every day. And, and listen, and Ben's not afraid of that. Like he definitely has that. He just, I don't think Ben's going to, quite has as much, pizzazz or however you want to say it as Dalen, comes across with. But no, I mean, Ben, listen, I just know this. We had some tough moments early in the season and even throughout the season, you get in tough games. It happens. And Ben was great in those huddles. And not only, sometimes guys say things in those huddles and they go out and they're not able to back it up. I mean, Ben, was on the guys in the huddles, was great, was focused about, the task at hand. And then he went out and he made huge clutch plays. So, I think Ben definitely, has that clutch gene and, with continued, development, maybe that can become one of his calling cards.
Go back to Scott Agnes.
Yeah, Tommy, I had a quick question. At the draft combine, I was asking them about the interview process, and Rick was having them design a last play. And Ben was saying, yeah, I drew it up for me, speaking to his confidence and all of that. Has that always been there the last couple of years, or is that part of his game and wanting it and willing to put himself on the line, or is that something he's added?
Well, I only had Ben for a year, And, I definitely know, we called his number at tough moments, and, even, not even into the game scenarios. Maybe, I remember in the UCLA game in the, conference championship, we called a couple actions for him to run off a baseline screen. And I mean, I want to think it was great play design, but the way he rose up and stuck the jump shot, I think I'm gonna err on the side. It was all him making a great play. So, but that's something. I mean, those are things, you come out of a timeout, and that player knows, that there's a good chance they're going to get a look, and to have the wherewithal to knock it down in those moments is, it's a huge deal for a young player. And, that doesn't surprise me that he called his own number.
All right, we'll shift to Dalen Terry in Chicago. Casey Johnson, go ahead.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Tommy, for doing this. I'm Casey Johnson with NBC Sports Chicago, still trying to recover from the bundle of enthusiasm we experienced on Zoom last night with Dalen Terry. What stands out to you about your association with him?
I mean, incredible spirit. I love Dalen, and I loved coaching him. And obviously this is one of those cool things. If you would ask me, a year ago at this time, if we would be having this Zoom, Dalen being the 18th pick, I probably would have said, probably don't bet on it, but this kid came so far in a year, and it's a credit to his work. I mean, I know you guys see the enthusiasm and all that stuff, and it kind of grabs your attention. I mean, to me, the way I experienced it was very authentic. And he practiced his butt off every day. He comes to work with a smile on his face. You can bring him in your office and you can have tough, honest conversations, and he participates in those. I love his energy and I love his spirit. I think that's an important part, but what I love more is just at the core of his person is a high character dude. My only sad thing is that I don't get to coach him again. And, but I'll always be here for him, and I'm expecting great things.
The only follow-up I would have, Tommy, is, there's so much attention's on, his offensive game and where it needs to grow. And he obviously was a low usage player for you guys, but he also seems like kind of one of those connecting pieces that makes the players around him better. Would you agree with that?
And 100%, I think, sometimes usage is overvalued. I don't think people, outside of the coaching deal and maybe, some analytic people really understand, what usage means. And Dalen helps teams win basketball games, and obviously his best days are ahead of him. And he did it this year without having to dominate the ball, doing it in a variety of ways. I think he really, really grew as a player and understanding just how to play with fundamentals, to manipulate defense, to understand different spacing and coverage scenarios, to start reading the game and being able to steal free baskets, whether that's, mixing in a back cut here, outrunning somebody in transition, sticking his nose in there and getting an offensive rebound. I mean, that type of stuff is the coach's dream, because at the end of the game, I think all his coaches, think we're pretty good, but a lot of times the game just comes down to effort and making effort plays. And Dalen excels in that. And he and I've talked numerous times. I mean, I've told him, hey, we'll put you in this position, double down on it. Double down on that. Don't go out and try to prove to everybody that you turned into a great 3-point shooter the last 2 months, or now you're all of a sudden a point guard. Just go out and hoop and play with great passion and spirit and make winning plays. And there's value in that, and your coaches will appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for your time. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Spears, go ahead.
Coach, good to see you. I'm wondering, from the time Dalen declared for the draft until obviously the moments leading up to the draft, what was just kind of your approach with recruiting, and what were the kind of the conversations you had with Dalen?
Well, we talked a few times, of course, all I wanted as a coach is for him to be in the position he ended up in. You don't want to see a guy go for it and, end up either going undrafted or sliding, deeper into the second round when they have the opportunity to come back. And the only reason I say that is because you know, I know in my heart that the potential Dalen has and how much better he could get. So, you know, I didn't feel selfish in telling him that if he came back, you know, he could do great things and maybe improve his position. But, you know, obviously the way it turns out, I mean, he did a great job of that in the draft process. His agents did a great job of, you know, framing it and putting him in this position. And so I'm extremely happy for him.
And I remember you said during the tournament that I think at the start of the season, excuse me, my laptop's going off, but at the start of the season, you put Dalen in like footwork boot camp.
Yeah.
From that point to obviously being a first round pick, you know, talk about his progress.
Well, I mean, listen, I think all these players need footwork boot camp, and it's not just picking on Dalen. I mean, I've been probably driving our players crazy the last weeks. I've been down in there and we've been working on footwork and jump stops and pivots and passing techniques. I mean, at the end of the day, those are the foundation to these guys' success. And I think what you're seeing with Dalen and with Ben is, you know, adding those things to their game. I mean, literally allowed them to hit turbo on their development. So, I mean, it's stuff that I'm passionate about and I believe in, and I'm always going to do it, even if it, you know, if it's not sexy or the players aren't excited about it, because at the end of the day, I mean, I think if you commit to that kind of stuff, you know, and you have a foundation of talent, you know, like Dalen and Ben did, I mean, these are the results.
Bruce Pasco, go ahead.
Yeah, Bruce. Hey, next. Bruce, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that.
Oh my, Bruce,
You had
your moment and you choked.
It's been so long. We've been on Zoom, fortunately, that I forgot where the unmute button is or whatever. Anyway, when you left Lolo's last night, Christian didn't last much longer. I was wondering, did you watch him, or did you patch in, and how did that go? Did you get to talk to him after that happened? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I never got to talk to him, but you know, Dalen's, you know, people were having fun, and I was so excited for them. But you know, I mean, I love Christian, and I kind of wanted to go have a moment by myself where I could go just, you know, watch his name get called. And, you know, I kind of had a good feeling that at 33, there was a good chance for him to get, you know, drafted. So I jumped in my car and drove up to the road to another restaurant in Scottsdale and walked in and just sat at a table by myself, and no one noticed me, and it was perfect. And I sat there and I watched his name get called, and I was super proud.
Do you have any sense how he might fit with the Raptors? I don't know if they talked to you at all about him, or you know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I have some great relationships up there with those guys, and you know, they're a team that's always put a premium on activity and length and you know, defensive prowess, and you know, I think, you know, Christian really fits their mold. You know, I mean, for me, I mean, I think Christian's a really impactful player. And, you know, I think if you get past the, you know, well, hey, is this guy going to be a superstar or an all-star? If you can get past all that and understand, you know, maybe not, but this guy really impacts the game and really impacts winning. And, you know, his versatility on defense, and, you know, when you have somebody that could switch a ball screen to protect the rim like he does, to run the floor and catch a lob above the rim, you know, at the square. I mean, to me, man, those are great traits. So, you know, I'm sure if Christian stays locked in and works hard, that he's going to bring a lot of value, you know, at that 33rd pick to Toronto. And hopefully in a few years, you know, people are shaking their head wondering how he slipped so far.
And just curious too, did you get a chance to hook up with Ben out there? I know Murph was out there in New York, but I didn't know.
No. Murph was out there in New York, and I think they had a great time. And, you know, Ken Nakagawa on our staff was out there as well. And, you know, I just, you know, I've been texting with Ben all week and talked with him a few days ago, and, you know, this is their time, you know, and they don't need me lurking or you know, harassing them. I just text them all, happy for them, love them, congrats, and I'll catch up with them when things slow down a little bit for them.
Cool, thanks.
Troy Hutchison, go ahead.
Coach, when we were in section 7, you mentioned the poll that the NBA has in terms of high school kids and everything. So when you have 3 players drafted in your first year as head coach, what does that do for the program moving forward? Just seeing 3 guys go in the NBA draft in year 1.
Well, I mean, I don't want to overthink that, because at the end of the day, I was brought to Arizona to do one thing, and that's, help this program, become, one of the best programs in the country, and win basketball games, and hopefully win some championships along the way. So that's where my focus is. And, but I also understand, that recruiting plays a big part of this, and, as does player development. So I think it's just proof that, when we get on the court and we get to work, good things happen. And, I think we're developing players the right way. And, I know we're loving them. I know we're having a ton of fun, and, hopefully, team success will continue and even grow more. And hopefully we'll continue to have multiple guys get their names called when the NBA draft comes around.
James Boyd with Indy Star.
Yeah, just one more quick one. Benedict is pretty open about his background, the things he's been through, things he's overcome. His brother, he talked to you about his love of his mom and his sister last night. How much do you think the adversity he had to face and betting on himself everywhere he went defines the confidence and sort of the bravado that he brings to the court and to his life as well?
Well, I don't know if I would use confidence and bravado. I think I would put it more in the category is conviction and fuel to the fire. I think as you guys get to know Ben, he's a great guy. He's not gregarious. He's not over the top. He's not trying to draw attention to himself. But I think internally there's a fire that really burns in there, and Chad Buchanan and I were talking about that last night. And I think that's one of the things that really attracted them to Ben, is that they feel like there's an inferno burning inside that kid. And I would agree with that, and hopefully he's able to continue to tap into that and harness that. And, I think if he is, I think we could be looking at a really, really good NBA player.
All right, I don't see any other hands up. Anybody else have any more questions for Coach? Justin Spears, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, I'm wondering, are you familiar with any of the head coaches, or like what kind of relationships do you have with the guys that your guys are going to, whether it's Rick Carlisle or Bill Donovan or something like that?
Yeah, well, I've met Billy Donovan a few times. He's really close with Coach Few, and I know obviously he's a great coach and tremendously respected, and I think he does right by his players. And Coach Carlisle and I have talked a few times and texted a few times during this process, and I know this guy's a guru, and it's a guy that loves getting in the weeds, loves developing teams and players. So I think he and Ben will really hit it off, well. And then I know some of the guys in the front office in Toronto, and just have always been impressed, with how, they've built that program up there. And, it's been a very non-traditional approach, and even, the way tactically they play, I think they're not afraid to try things, and I think I fall in line with that as a coach as well. And so, I've always appreciated watching them, and to be honest with you, I've even, taken a few schemes from them over the years. So, I think I think they'll really appreciate the value he brings, with his versatility, that's going to allow him to try different things.
And from guys that you've sent to the NBA from Gonzaga, what have you heard just about the NBA grind, playing an 82-game season, and what it takes?
Well, listen, I think our guys get sick of me saying it, but I just always remind them in every conversation that this is going to be hard. This might be the hardest thing you've ever done. So, part of the cheat code to being successful is staying positive. You got to stay positive during this process, because there's hard days coming. There's challenges and roadblocks you didn't anticipate, and you got to be able to work yourself through them. And the other thing I always tell them is, you got to be willing to put everything you have into it. And we all know how bad you want it, but then understand you can do everything pretty close to right and still not make it. And it still might not work out for you. So I think you got to kind of, get over the fear of failure, and you got to go for it. And, that's the message I always tell our guys. And so we'll continue to deliver that message from our end.
And then lastly for me, are you able to talk about the new guys added to your team?
If you would have been at Section 7, I had 30 minutes on that. So, yeah, I mean, I can, if they, we don't need if the other guys don't want to jump on or they want to jump off, I don't want them to feel like they got to hear all this, the guys from out of area. But yeah, I mean, for sure, I'll answer a couple questions on that.
I think the only other hand we have up is Bruce. Bruce, did you have anything pertinent to the draft that you were going to add before we go to the roster question?
Well, I actually had, I didn't have I had another question, not like Justin's, but I was just wondering if Tommy's done with this roster, or if it's still possible he might add another guy. That's basically what I was wondering.
All right, let me just ask any other draft questions. I don't see any other hands up, so quick chance here for everyone that may want draft questions. Don't see any, so we'll go with Bruce's question here, and then go back to talking about the new guys. So Bruce, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, Tommy, obviously you got 2 spots left. I know you've been keeping at least one open. I didn't know if you plan to keep it the way it is now, or is it still possible you might add another guy if it fits right or whatever over the summer, or kind of where things going?
I mean, I think everything's an option. I feel like we've settled into a point now where, we probably have, a workable rotation. At least we have enough guys to kind of fill out that. And, but again, I'm never going to limit us if, something comes along. It's just obviously getting a little bit later in the summer, but you never know. I mean, if something pops or something becomes available and there's an opportunity, I think we'll be ready to pounce.
Okay. And just Matt Lane saying he was coming here for a grad year. How did that work out? And obviously you had a relationship with him, I know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I have, and Matt's a good kid. And, I just told Matt, you need to look at all your options. He's a great student. And to be honest with you, I think, I think he was looking at NYU, Notre Dame, and Arizona, and he's an accounting guy, and even going back to Gonzaga. And I think at the end of the day, I think, he wanted to just, in his COVID year, he wanted a little bit of a change of scenery. And, I told him he could come here, and, but there's no promises, no guarantees of anything, but it's a great place to be. And if he wanted to be a part of it for a year, I mean, he's the guy that I trust, and I know he'll add to the culture.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Do you want to go back to Justin's here and just briefly comment on the four additions?
So you should, Justin, we're going one by one with the new guys here. Is that what you want?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a long-winded answer. Just some about just what the new guys bring to your roster.
Well, we'll start with the transfers. Courtney and Cedric, the first thing is they bring experience. I think they both, really add to, add value and depth and every other word you want to our perimeter. Cedric is somebody, who I was really just impressed with his feel for the game. How he's able to play comfortably with the ball in his hands and read the game. But what I really liked is he's able to make plays without the ball, just with his cutting